So I've always found it a little bit cringy when I've seen travel vloggers and the like have these why I'm leaving blank videos. I mean, I don't know, it's like your life is your life. But given that we've been pretty outspoken about how much we do enjoy living here in China and obviously how awesome the food is, we felt like we did owe you guys at least a little bit of an explanation. So I think a lot of you guys know that the government here has been doing this zero COVID thing, or I don't know, I guess these days dynamic zero, since pretty much the start of the pandemic. And honestly, for a while there at least, living under that zero COVID policy was actually pretty good. Like, while the US, my home country, was roiled in lockdowns, school closures, overloaded hospitals, and I guess not to mention a lot of death, we were able to travel freely around this country. We were able to eat some awesome meals. We were able to see some really cool places that we'd never seen before. Now, the flip side to having this kind of zero COVID policy is always basically closed-ish borders. But I mean, to be completely frank, probably it's not the best idea pre-vaccine to do a lot of international travel anyway. So at least for a while there, that whole thing kind of felt like a pretty decent trade-off. But the problem with a zero COVID policy, especially with the way the world's kind of evolved, is that there's no real clear place to stop. And I mean, I don't know. I just, it's been like 3 years since I've seen my family. I do want to see them again. My parents are getting older, my nieces and nephews are getting older, and I don't know, I do kind of want to go back to the US, even for a visit. Now, doing a US to China round trip kind of thing is, at least theoretically, possible. So I was planning on doing it this summer. But to be completely honest, the more we looked into the logistics of actually doing that, the more borderline insane and undoable the whole project ended up looking. So like, especially flights wise, we were looking at anywhere in excess of 15 to 20,000 US dollars to make the round trip. And that's assuming that I would actually be able to get back to China in any kind of reasonable time frame. Like, worst comes to worst, if I actually caught COVID, which is not an unheard of thing in the United States, obviously, be looking at like months and months in a holding pattern, and that'd be optimistic. So back in January, we kind of took a look at some of our options, and we realized that it would actually make more sense to move to another country and do the round trip from that point. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to be moving to Bangkok, probably for a couple of years. The dog is already there, and we're planning on joining him late June. And the plan is going to be going down there for 2, maybe 3 years while the borders here slowly and hopefully start to reopen. Worst comes to worst, though, even if the borders stay fucked, we do plan on being back into China because, again, we do like it here. So worst comes to worst, we'll be looking at like a couple years out, a couple years in, this kind of split. So does this change anything for you or the channel? No, not really. We're not planning on being Thai cooking demystified or anything. We've already banked about 2 years, conveniently 2 years, worth of video ideas, and some of which we already even have some street footage of. So we are sticking to Chinese food. The only change that you might end up seeing a little bit is some of the diaspora Chinese food throughout Southeast Asia is super fascinating. So don't be overly surprised if we see some like Thai Chinese street food that we get inspired by and want to cover. But yeah, no, we are sticking to Chinese food. Nothing's going to change, except maybe if you follow us on Instagram, we do like doing a lot of like street food and restaurants and this kind of stuff on the Instagram. So obviously being in Bangkok, it'll be Bangkok and Thai oriented stuff on the Instagram a little bit more, even though even though Bangkok obviously has a pretty awesome Chinatown as well. We might end up doing a little bit of home cooking in order to fill that gap either way. Now, theoretically, COVID zero could end at any moment. The smart money's not on it. But even without that, I think me and Steph are maybe just in a little bit of the headspace just to move around a little bit, at least for a couple years. I have been super lucky my entire adult life. I've been able to live abroad. And that's something that Steph hasn't really been able to experience. And she's really looking forward to it. So, yeah. Anyway, just a quick little update, just in case you were wondering where the mini schnauzer was.